Howdy. When I did my video talking about how I wanted to get to 1,000 subscribers, I asked people what they would like me to talk about. So the first one I did was talking about public speaking, and then I did 5 videos talking about blogging. So the only other thing I was asked was a friend of mine, John, who lives in Australia, who wanted me to perform a song that I had written. He thought that would be entertaining. Well, I can't do that, and I'm going to tell a story and tell you pretty much why I can't do that. And I even have to ask myself, would I do it if I could? So let's start back to 1985. I did a video about the very first wedding I ever did, which ended up that day being my going to the Amy Grant concert with this young lady, and how that turned into a very interesting fiasco. And I'm going to link to that as well as the others somewhere throughout this video. Anyway, the day I did my first wedding, and I talked about it in that video, I did not mention this one thing. I did probably the hardest song I had to start with. It's a song called Follow Me by John Denver. And the problem with it is that you have to start singing before you start playing, which means you have to rehearse starting in the right key before you start playing the music. And I had to work hard on that because even though I knew the song, it's like, oh my goodness, how do I make sure that I'm in the right key when I start doing this? And I pulled it off. It was the very first song I ever sang. And for 14 years, it was the hardest song I sang. Now we've gotten up to 1999, and I'm pretty close to stopping all kind of singing whatsoever. But one of my good friends asked me if I would sing at her wedding, and I knew her and the man she was going to marry. I said, sure. What songs would you like? And she picked a couple of pretty easy songs. Then she wanted me to do a song that I wrote. She said, pick whatever song you want to. You've mentioned in the past that you've written a couple of songs you would hope to do for your wedding, which didn't come to pass. So I picked one. But then she wanted a song, All I Ask of You, from Phantom of the Opera. Now, I knew the song. I loved the song. I didn't know the opera, but it didn't matter. I mean, I didn't know the show. I knew all the music from the opera, but I didn't know the show. But I never really tried to sing it. So I sat down with the sheet music and I tried to sing it and found out that part of it would have been at the top of my range when I was singing all the time, but I'd been backing off, and suddenly I had trouble hitting the high notes. I said, oh no, this isn't going to work. I thought about trying to play it in a lower key, but then it wouldn't have sounded right. So for the second time in my life, I had to call up a friend of mine and get some vocal coaching on how to sing a song. And what's funny is that I called her to learn how to sing that Follow Me song in the right key at the start. So 14 years later, everything started and ended almost the exact same way with a tough song. And I had to work at it. I mean, I had to basically work at it for a couple of weeks to get down the vocal. But I had to work on all the other songs as well, because by this time, I was traveling to work about an hour and a half each way every day. And then I had bowling 2 nights a week, and I was just exhausted. I wasn't playing much. I wasn't practicing much. Even though I have an electric piano, which means I could plug it in. It sounds like a real thing, by the way. It's a wonderful piano. But I just hadn't had the time just to sit down and play anymore. And now I had this wedding, and I promised to do it. So it was interesting because she was American, but he was actually Australian, and his parents flew over to the country and tried to get me to eat raw prawns or shrimp, and that wasn't happening. And then tried to get me to eat some that were cooked but had the shells on them. I wasn't doing that either. But it was a fun time. It was a fun time leading up to it. And now it's the day of the wedding, and I've been rehearsing, and I'm playing as well, so I didn't have anyone else playing anything. So the wedding begins. It's this big, beautiful church, and the pews are full. My wife's sitting in the front seat on one end as the friends of the bride, and because I was playing. And she really hadn't ever heard me singing at a wedding. So everything was like, wow, this is all brand new. And I was thinking, you know what, this is probably going to be the last one I do. So I do the first song, goes pretty easy. Another 10 minutes, I do the next song. Now it's time for All I Ask of You. And I decided I was going to take it slow because I wanted to make sure I hit the notes. And also, if you know anything about sheet music, you have periods where you're singing something and then you have to go back to another page and start it all over again. Well, I had tried to memorize that part, and I had, so I wouldn't have to flip the music back. And I start playing, and I'm singing the song slower, and I take my breath, and I hit the high note, and my mind says, yeah, I got this. And once again, I had performed at a time when I was supposed to, and I was feeling pretty good about that. So the song goes well, and nothing from the crowd. You just got nothing. But I'm proud of myself. Look, I've hit this note. I've hit this song. It's a very difficult song, and I did it. So now it's about 15, 20 more minutes. Yeah, it was a long wedding. And now it's time for the final song, and it's a song I wrote. And I knew my own song. I had written it. I had written it probably back in, probably 83 or 84. Part of it is based off of the second movement of Beethoven's Pathetique Sonata. And, there it is. That was a song I'd always hoped to do at my wedding. Now I get to do it at someone else's wedding. So I start doing this song, and I know it's my final song, and I knew the music, and I knew all the words, and so all I had to do was just sing it out and blast it out. And so I do it, and I'm feeling really good, and I get to the end of it, and I got a standing ovation. Everybody except my wife stood up and started applauding. The preacher or pastor or whatever they call him, he was standing obviously, but they're just all applauding and everything's coming my way. And I said, wow, my first ever standing ovation at the wedding. And I had to say that because I actually had one other standing ovation, which I'd almost forgot about, but I had written a song for a friend of mine to be performed at his reception. And there was a band. And so I was going to sit back and listen to the band play my song and someone else sing my song and say, well, okay, so that's how it sounds. But the singer didn't show up that day, so I had to sing it. And that went off okay. And I got a standing ovation that day, but that was a reception. That didn't really count. So I got to do my song. I got my standing ovation. I said, you know what? It's not going to get any better than this. I'm never going to get a standing ovation ever again. I'm not going to play this well ever again. And I was done. I was ecstatic. I was happy. Everyone else felt good. I got all kind of congratulations at the reception later on. My wife was happy. She had this big smile on her face. It couldn't have gotten any better. So that's how come I didn't want to do it ever again. So truthfully, over the last 20 years, because this was 1999, I think I may have gone to the piano 5 or 6 times. I just haven't played. Matter of fact, oddly enough, I didn't even sing probably until a couple years after Michael Jackson passed. What was that? 2011. He passed in 2009. I didn't sing anything. I don't know why I didn't sing. I've always loved music. But there you go. So that's my story with that. So I hope you enjoyed the little story. It's my little trip down memory lane. That's why I stopped playing, which is too bad because I have a lot of copywritten songs. Oh well, that's life. So what am I going to talk about starting next week? Y'all just got to come back and find out. Anyway, if you like this kind of video, let me know. If you like other story videos, let me know that. I hope you like it. I hope you subscribe. I hope you get other people to subscribe because I'm still looking to get to that 1,000. And if there's certain topics you'd like me to talk about that I do on this channel, like I said, blogging, social media, whatever. If I can't do it, I'll let you know I can't do it. My name is Mitch Mitchell. I will see y'all later.